Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Thursday morning. We're back with lots and lots of topics to discuss today. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. If this is your first time watching, make sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, very close to 40,000 subscribers now, so go and do that if you haven't already. And also make sure to drop a like on the video. It's free to do so. Give the video the thumbs up. Let's try and get to 500 likes on this episode. Right, so in the show today, we're going to be reacting to a story that broke last night saying that apparently Manchester United want to sign Nuno Mendes from PSG, obviously a player who Ruben Amorim knows very well from his Sporting Lisbon times. We'll also be talking about Marcus Rashford again, with him being dropped ahead of the game against Tottenham tonight. We'll also obviously talk a bit about the game tonight, a couple of other topics as well. As always, I invite you to get in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on all things Manchester United. So let's start off with Marcus Rashford then, shall we? Because the immediate news is that Marcus Rashford hasn't travelled with the squad for the game against Tottenham today. Garnacho has. Garnacho's apparently trained well this week and has been selected. Marcus Rashford hasn't been selected. He's not with the team. He didn't travel. And Ruben Amorim was asked about it. And it was quite interesting to see what Ruben Amorim had to say, because you could tell he was quite upset about it, to be honest. He even went as far as saying that he's quite emotional about it, Ruben Amorim said. And he said effectively that, he needs to speak to Rashford. He did, to be fair, say that Rashford is still a Manchester United player, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, he has to say that. But you could tell that Ruben Amorim was very unhappy with the situation. And you could tell that he wasn't happy with the way that Marcus Rashford went off and spoke to Henry Winter and did an article, saying effectively that he wanted a new challenge. And effectively, Ruben Amorim said that he had no prior knowledge of this. He wasn't told. Rashford didn't come and speak to him. So effectively what happens is, right, Marcus Rashford is dropped ahead of the Manchester derby because he hasn't been training properly. Fair enough. No problem with that. What does Marcus Rashford decide to do? He doesn't go and then speak to the manager and say, how can we resolve this? How can I, better myself? He instead goes and does an interview, a massive interview with one of the most respected journalists in the UK, and effectively says he wants a new challenge. That's his response to it. So instead of being like, right, I've been dropped because I've not been training hard enough, instead of being like, right, I'm going to get my act together, he then decides, no, I'm going to go and speak to the press. I mean, it's not a very good look, is it? And you could tell that Ruben Amorim was not happy about it at all. And this press conference that he did last night, he was asked 12 times, I worked out. There was about 15 questions in the press conference. 12 of those questions were about Marcus Rashford. The other 3, one was about Mason Mount. What was the other ones about? I can't even remember. It was literally just talking about Rashford for 10 minutes, 12 questions about Rashford, one about Mason Mount's injury, which he said that they still don't know how long he's going to be out for. And that was pretty much it, really, that they spoke about. But so I've got some of the quotes here from Ruben Amorim. And he says, he goes? He effectively says, his goal is to get the best out of the players, but he can't make them have the right attitude. He can do all of the things. He can prepare the team, prepare the tactics. He can give them all the tools, but it's completely up to those players as to whether they show the right attitude. So he's put the ball back in Marcus Rashford's court again. Now, there is only, I think, 4 games until the January transfer window opens. And the question that I have is, do we think we'll see Marcus Rashford in a Manchester United shirt again before the end of this calendar year? Because obviously we play today against Tottenham, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Then we play Bournemouth at home, then Wolves away, and then Newcastle at home. So we've got 4 more games, and then the window opens. It's a really difficult situation because, if Manchester United are genuinely looking to move on Marcus Rashford, they probably shouldn't play him. And the reason for that is, if Marcus Rashford gets injured, then that means you've got him then till the summer. You've got a player in that squad who's clearly unhappy, a player in that squad who clearly wants to leave, and then how do you manage that? But I just want to say as well, fair play to Garnacho, who has travelled with the squad. Apparently, Ruben Amorim said that Garnacho trained really well this week, and he showed a really positive attitude towards, improving. Ruben Amorim did say that Garnacho was a little bit upset with him, but that's good. You want players who care. You want players who react, and they react well to these situations. So you have two options. You either take it as, I need to improve. They go into training, they work harder, or they go and speak to the media and are suddenly ill, and we know who did what. So, it's not a particularly good look, is it? But in relation to the other things around Rashford, it's now just a game of waiting. We have to wait and see what happens. We have to wait and see on how Ineos deal with this. Ruben Amorim was asked whether he'd spoken to Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, etc. about the plan for Rashford, and he said that he hadn't had a chance to do that yet. Because remember, this interview only came out on Tuesday, I think it was. Obviously, we had, and then we have a game today. So, there isn't really that much time for these types of things. But let's be honest, right? Not bringing Rashford to this Tottenham game was definitely the right decision, realistically, doesn't it? It doesn't paint a very good picture if you have a player who doesn't get picked because he's not training well enough and then suddenly does an interview saying he wants to leave and then you pick him. Like, that wouldn't make any sense to me, So Marcus Rashford's kind of made his bed and he has to sleep in it now, if that makes sense. Like, there's not really that much he can do. The fan base were already against him, the majority of the fan base. Not in a nasty way, they just, we've had enough. And I don't see how any Man United fan can come back from this, really. He says he wants to leave. It's as simple as that, really. Like, Man United need to just facilitate his exit. But I'd be interested to see what you guys all think about this. Let me know what your thoughts in the comment section. He has been dropped. He's not going to be in the squad for the game today. Will he be in the squad for the Bournemouth game? I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, it's Thursday today. The Bournemouth game's on Sunday. I just can't see it. And do we actually think that Marcus Rashford not being in the squad actually makes much of a difference? I don't think it does. He doesn't suit either of the attacking midfield roles, the left attacking midfield or the right attacking midfield. We know that. He just doesn't suit those positions. He's not very good as a number 9. So even if you do say, oh yeah, bring him along, which position does he play in? I mean, you could argue that as an impact sub, maybe he could offer something, but I don't know. I don't really see it anymore, to be honest. I don't. I think if he was playing on the left wing, then maybe you could argue that case. But Marcus Rashford playing out of position when he doesn't even try when he's in the correct position, I mean, it's not really a very exciting proposal, is it? But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you guys all think about this. I think most of the Man United fan base are united on this story, and that everyone seems to think generally that, Rashford moving on is the correct thing for everybody. So yeah, we'll wait and see how this story plays out. At the moment, as I said, it's just a case of waiting, seeing how Manchester United react. Hopefully that's with a sale in the January window. And I think there will be plenty of clubs out there who are interested in him. We've heard that apparently Bayern are interested, PSG. There's even some talks that teams like that Chelsea and Arsenal are interested. Whether or not that will materialise into an offer, that's a whole nother thing. But there will be interest in Marcus Rashford. He's 27 years of age. His stock price is low, so you could potentially get a player. You could potentially get a player of his quality for 30 to 50 million. Now, I don't think the quality has ever been in question, really. It's not the quality, it's the attitude, it's the mentality, it's the work rate, it's the desire, it's the hunger. It's all of the things that only the player can do themselves, He clearly does have quality, whether you like Marcus Rashford or not. He does have qualities. He's good on the ball, he's fast, he's got a good shot on him, he's skillful. Like, those are his qualities. But then his lack of work rate, his inability to run back, sulking on the pitch, etc., all of these things outweigh his quality. It's not like a Messi who would score a goal, 2 goals every game, and then might do nothing for the rest of the game. He how many goals he scored this season? Let's have a look. I know people always go back to this whole, he scored 30 goals thing, and I wanted to explore that a little bit because this whole 30 goal thing is like, people obsess over this, don't they? And I'm just trying to remember. Let me have a quick look. So this was in 2022, wasn't it? So in 2022, he scored 30 goals, 6 of which were in the Europa League, 6 were in the League Cup, and 1 was in the FA Cup. So he got 13 goals in, let's say, lesser competition. I'm not trying to bash him here. I'm just bringing this conversation. Obviously, he had a good season that year, but half of his goals were playing against lesser teams in the League Cup and the Europa League. He only scored 15 in the Premier League that season, which isn't that much for an attacking player, is it? If you look at let's have a look. Premier League, top scorers. 24, 25. I mean, at the moment, Mo Salah, is that right? Mo Salah, who plays in the same position as him, has scored 22 goals and we've only played 15 games this season. Whereas Rashford scored 15 goals in a whole season. Do you know what I mean? So, like, as great of an achievement as it is to score 15 goals in the Premier League, like, when you compare it to other top players who are earning the same kind of money, let's have a look. I might have got that wrong, actually. Yeah, I got that wrong. Sorry. So Salah scored 13 goals this season so far in 15 games. And Rashford, in his best ever season, I think it was 15 goals in 38 games. So, you know, if Mo Salah continues at the scoring record that he is at the moment, he could be anywhere between 25 and 30 goals by the end of this season, which will be about double what Rashford's best season was, you know? I mean, Cole Palmer scored 11, Salah 13, Haaland 13. So, yeah, I think, you know, some people just hold on to this, cling on to this thing where they're like, oh, he scored 30 goals 2 seasons ago. But when you actually like break it down, yes, scoring 30 goals is an amazing achievement and he massively helped us in that season. So don't forget that. But we can't just cling on to a player just because he scored 30 goals 2 seasons ago. But anyway, let's move on from that. Let's see what people are saying in the chat this morning. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favor and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. I'm trying to get to 500 likes on this episode, so please go and do that. And yeah, make sure you subscribe as well if you haven't already. I've just dropped a link into the chat to do that. Bottom right-hand corner. Let's try and get to the 40,000. That's the next milestone. Go and do that right now. Ginge says, the questions in the press conference are borderline obsessive, but Ruben Amorim handles himself very well, as you'd expect. He says that the Marcus Rashford circus needs to move on now. I'm tired of it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the case. You know, this Marcus Rashford story is a massive story. He's a big name with a big social media following. I don't personally think that Marcus Rashford needs this amount of airtime, to be honest. I don't think his quality... Like, he's not a world-class player, you know? Like, we're not talking about Garnacho much, are we? I think that in the media, they make Marcus Rashford to be out... they make him out to be this, this world-class player, i.e. that it's a massive headline story. But I just don't really agree with it. But anyway, let's move on from that and let's jump on over to Nuno Mendes from PSG, because this story caught me by surprise a little bit. But the more you explore this Nuno Mendes story, the more it makes sense. So this was coming out from Plettigol, which is obviously Florian Plettenberg, Sky Sports Germany journalist. And he is reporting that apparently Manchester United are strongly interested in signing Nuno Mendes. The story says that PSG want to extend his contract beyond 2026, but it is currently not planned for him to sign soon, as there are many other options for the player. It goes on to say that Nuno Mendes and Ruben Amorim share the same agent, and United are aware of Nuno Mendes' situation. So 2 years left on his deal. Sorry, less than 2 years. 1.5 years left on his deal. His contract's up, not this summer, the summer after. So PSG would effectively need to sell him really in the summer. Now, is there a world where we try and do a swap deal, Rashford for Nuno Mendes? I mean, I know Nuno Mendes probably... I mean, they probably are worth about the same amount of money, aren't they? Realistically, these days. I'd probably say, yeah. PSG paid 38 million euros for Nuno Mendes 2 seasons ago. Marcus Rashford's probably worth 40, 50 million euros, right? Somewhere around there. And the interesting thing with this is, obviously, Nuno Mendes came through the Sporting Youth Academy. He played under Ruben Amorim for a number of years in some of his most successful moments. So it'd be an absolutely perfect signing for Manchester United, I think. And if we could get this deal done, I think him in that left wing-back position would be absolutely incredible. So I'm going to keep my fingers and toes crossed for this one. Yeah, I think it would be a really, really good deal. He's only 22 as well. So, you know, he's definitely one who could be here for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years easily. So, yeah, if Man United can pull this off, I'll be very, very impressed. The big question is, can they do it? That's the problem. Obviously, we do have a good relationship with PSG. Obviously, we did buy Ugarte off them in the summer. Now, is there a world where we say to them, are you interested in Rashford? We would like to buy Nuno Mendes. Let's do a deal. I mean, if that could happen, I would be very happy. But it's a big if, isn't it? You know, because I think even if you look at it from a financial standpoint, Nuno Mendes' wages are going to be a hell of a lot less than what Marcus Rashford's are. So, like a swap deal probably wouldn't be realistic, would it? Nuno Mendes is only on 33,000 a week at PSG, whereas Marcus Rashford is on 325,000 a week at Manchester United. So there's, Rashford's earning 10 times the amount of money as Nuno Mendes is at PSG. So you'd have to kind of consider that in the deal. If PSG say, we want 40 million from Nuno Mendes, and we say we want 40 million for Marcus Rashford, right? Then PSG could turn around and say, well, we're going to have to pay Rashford £17 million a season, whereas you're only going to have to pay Nuno Mendes a couple of million a season. Do you see what I mean? And you have to look at that with transfers, because if Marcus Rashford goes and signs for PSG and is being paid, say, 15 million a season on a 5-year deal, that's £75 million that they're legally committing to pay him over a 5-year period. So you have to consider this all with transfers. And that's why in the past, Man United have found it so difficult to sell players, because they tie them down to these massive contracts, huge wages, and then it effectively makes them unsellable because no other team is willing to match those wages. We had the same thing with Maguire. Maguire, there was lots of teams interested in Maguire in the past, but none of them were willing to pay us 200 grand a week. So yeah, it's a problem that we've had for very many years. And it's one that we need to resolve. And I think we are getting better at it. Being honest, I was a little bit unsure about when they gave Bruno the massive new contract. I mean, he deserves it. He should be the highest earning player at the club. He's probably our best player. He produces the most. He works the hardest. So there's no question about whether Bruno should be the highest earner. I was only just looking at that situation and thinking, to give someone 300k a week at the age of 30 is a risk. If he suddenly starts picking up injuries or his form suddenly drops off, you can't really sell him then because his wages are so big. But I'll obviously keep you updated on this Nuno Mendes story. I think it's definitely one to keep an eye on. We know that Manchester United are in the market for a new left back, whatever you want to call it. So I'm hopeful. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but we'll wait and see what happens. Let me just have a little sip of my water. I still got a bit of a sore throat. See what we got in the chat. Al says, Transfer Market says Nuno Mendes is worth around 55 million. They would charge us a premium on top of the market value. But the thing you've got to remember though, mate, is he's only got about 18 months left on his contract. So if PSG don't sell him this summer or in January, then next January he can leave for free. Or he can agree a pre-contract deal. So you have to remember that. Obviously, the contract is quite an important thing in this conversation. And if you look on Transfer Market as well, it says that Marcus Rashford's value is 55 million euros. So the point I'm making here is, based on Transfer Market, which is a very reliable website for, it just shows you all the different players. It shows you their ages, their stats, and all the rest of it. They estimate that both Nuno Mendes and Marcus Rashford are valued at 55 million euros. So it is a similar type of money. But obviously, as I said, the overall package for a Marcus Rashford transfer would be massive because of the wages. He'd probably want a signing on bonus, like all of these things. Whereas Nuno Mendes is on a small amount of money at PSG, 33 grand a week. It's nothing for a footballer of his quality. So yeah, hopefully we get this one done, but obviously I'll keep you updated as and when I get more news. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will be back I'll be back after the game tonight, so probably about 10 p.m. I've got my driving test today, so make sure you all send nice positive messages. My driving test is in about 3 hours time from now here. So yeah. Fingers crossed. Let's hope I pass and then we beat Tottenham tonight. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back this evening at about 10 p.m. UK time for a match reaction. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.